Hello, friends. Namaste. Hare Krishna. Well, I've been putting this one off for a while because I've been going back and forth with this presidential election prediction for some time. I know what I did tell you back when I did the video entitled Eclipses, Comets, and the U.S. Presidential Election. And I mentioned eclipses that were affecting Donald Trump's chart. And I wasn't very encouraged by those eclipses, at least the one back in July. The next one is December, so that's hardly relevant at this point in time. But this election is going to be very close. I believe it's going to be a close one. And it's not an easy one to predict because I use different methods besides the birth charts to confirm or deny what I'm thinking and to bolster my ability to get insight into the final prediction. And it's been going back and forth. Sometimes you get readings that say it's going to be Trump. Sometimes you get readings that say it's going to be Biden, and so we go. Polls, I don't pay attention to polls. They're almost always wrong. I've watched that through the years. But this particular election reminds me of the election in 2004, which was George W. Bush, who already had one term, against his opponent was John Kerry. And everybody was just, a lot of the astrologers, etc., were on the Kerry bandwagon and saying, oh, but Bush is finished, he's done, he'll be defeated, Kerry's going to win, and, you know. Thing about that, my friends, is people get attached to who they want to win, to what they want to have happen. And once you get attached, either positively or negatively, either through attraction or repulsion, you're not going to be able to nail it that way because you are invested in it. Your ego or your emotions are invested in it. That's not the way this works, usually. I can tell you honestly and truthfully, I am not invested in this one way or the other. I could give you my opinions in certain ways, which I'm not going to do. But I'm not invested in the outcome. That's simply what I'm telling you. But I was the guy who picked George W. Bush to win that election, much to the backlash of several people before the election who thought it was preposterous. But guess what? Bush won. So, in spite of what I said about the eclipses, and also I talked about the planetary periods that Trump and Biden are in, Trump on the day of the election will be in a major Jupiter, a minor Saturn, and a sub-Rahu. Major Jupiter, that's a very good period for him. Minor Saturn in the 12th house. Not the best place for Saturn. It can indicate losses and reversals. And then Rahu in the 10th house. If 10th house is what we're talking about here, the goal, which is the presidential status, professional status, career status, and achievement out in the world, especially on a stage like the U.S. presidential stage, then you look at Rahu and go, well, that can't be very good. Well, not necessarily. Because Rahu is about 2 degrees away from his sun. And as we know, Rahu and Ketu are both shadow planets. Rahu's the north node of the moon, for those of you who don't know. And Ketu's the south node of the moon. And the shadow planets amplify things. They can amplify the negative, or they can amplify the positive. And as I've told many of you in our many conversations, having done your birth charts, having my thousands of clients out there, which I do, and I'm always grateful for you, by the way. Rahu and Ketu also can create a meteoric rise, a sudden spike or sudden boost that lifts people up. People generally go up career-wise one step at a time, normally. A meteoric rise is when you shoot up like a shooting star, but up. Like maybe instead of one step, you go up 5 steps, for example. Now, let's add to that. Isn't it curious that Trump, now, we had in, I think it was September 13th or 14th, both Rahu and Ketu in the sky moved. They changed signs. Now, we discussed this, I think I discussed this in one of those videos I did on 2020, 2021, or even on the coronavirus video. That was the first of that bunch. So they did move a month ago, a month and a half. And Rahu is now in Taurus for everybody, and Ketu is now in Scorpio. Well, this Rahu and this Ketu in Donald Trump chart are almost, they're like 1 degree or 2 degrees away from his natal Rahu position and his natal Ketu position. His Rahu's with his sun and his Ketu's with his moon, which can lift a person up, you see. So he is in a sub-period of Rahu, major Jupiter, minor Saturn, sub-Rahu. But I'll tell you, I think this may tip the balance. For Joe Biden, he's in a major Jupiter, which is exalted in his 9th house, the house of good fortune. And he's in a minor Rahu period in his 10th house, but his Rahu is all by itself. In Leo, in his 10th house, it's all alone. So it's not going to create a special yoga or meteoric rise because there's no planets there. And then also, he's in his sub-period of Jupiter. Again, exalted Jupiter, good fortune. You'd think, well, his exalted Jupiter brought him the Democratic presidential nomination. Pretty significant. So what do I actually think is going to happen? I'll tell you, I've been honestly putting this off. But I have to go official at this point in time, my friends. I know a lot of people think that the Biden's going to win, but I'm having taken all this into consideration and having my lords right behind me here. I'm going to predict that Donald Trump is going to win the 2020 U.S. presidential election. So again, you see, this reminds me of what I said in 2004 with George W. Bush, because I know there's a lot of rancor and a lot of resentment toward Mr. Trump. I don't get involved in that. So that's what I think. I know some of you are going to be happy hearing this. Some of you are not going to be happy at all, but none of us can control that, as we know. So hopefully I'm right, only because I'd like my prediction to be correct. Whatever happens, happens. And thank you for all your emails. When are you going to make your prediction? I just made it. Okay. I love you, and I appreciate you all, and onward and upward. This COVID business, all this, my friends, this too shall pass. It must pass. Don't forget, April 11th of 2021, we go into a new lunar year, according to the Vedic Astrological year. Going to be much better than the one we've been in. As I tell my clients, oh yes, and here we are in such and such date of 2020, the year that never was. Oh, it was all right. We kind of wish it never was, is more like it. I hope you are keeping healthy. I hope you're keeping sane, safe, happy. I'm concerned for your health and well-being. And let me tell you what I do. as I've always done for many, many years, I stay close to God. That's what I do. When you have a true, deep, and powerful spiritual connection, it doesn't matter what happens down here on earth. All the foo-fa-ra that goes on here and the fear-mongering that they try to inundate us with, and this is going to happen, this isn't going to happen, and all the confusion and cacophony that we hear through social media. You have to separate yourself from that, and you have to go into a state of mind, a state of being that rises above all this. That's why spirituality is so important for us. Not only to get through our life while we're here in this world, in these bodies, in this particular incarnation, but for eternity, for eternity's sake. So that is my major prescription for your health and well-being, physical, emotional, and mental, is to make sure you have that spiritual connection and to foster it and sustain it. And it works really, really well, my friends. So that's my prediction, and take care. Hare Krishna. Namaste. Thank you.